Right, a little musical interlude, and then we'll have open microphone. Predictably, we are running massively late, but we'll press on. So we would like to invite people to come up and talk, but due to the fact that we are way over time, of course, can you be like super brief? Come on, who wants to go first?
Tanta Yoka. I'm Neuman, Riddell. This is Robert Neuman, and we have a brother, Gary, who's not here. Our dad is Eric Philip Neuman, and he was Hans' older brother.
Yep.
So, I think Hans is young. Yes. So yeah, when we first heard about Yoka, was when Hans died and our dad mysteriously went to the South Island. We were from Hamilton, and so yeah, we're the Neumans from the north. And yeah, we were just amazed that we had this auntie that we didn't know, and cousins. So Fika, Eric and Johnny, we got to know them. So yeah, we're pretty amazed. Who could imagine having an auntie like Yoka? Yes, so she quite blew us away. And we were very thankful that we got to know her, and it's been a privilege to have her in our lives. Not that we got to spend a lot of time being quite a partner when we were together. It was a real cool connection with the cousins. So we thank you guys for keeping us in touch. Yeah, and I wanted to pass on this to you all. Grief never ends, but it changes. It's a passage, not a place to stay. Grief's not a sign of weakness, nor a lack of faith. It is the Christ of love. So, thank you, Tata. Yoka. Thank you, everybody.
friends, and I arrived from UK and New Zealand in the early mid-80s and came to the realisation that I was lesbian. And the first person that I made contact with in my coming out was Yoka. And I thought, wow, this is what being lesbian is really. I thought this was normal lesbian life, and it was great. I couldn't have had a better start to my lesbian life than knowing Yoka. And she introduced me to all the people who are my closest friends today. Liz and Jill, who unfortunately can't be here tonight. And I remember the first night at Jill, my first meeting lesbians, other lesbians that I knew were lesbians. And it was just amazing. It just really was a coming home, and it was Yoka who made that possible for me. And she's always been there with me throughout my life as a really important influence. Sometimes I agree, I wasn't quite sure where we were heading in the conversation, but we usually got there eventually. And she's staunch, she was wonderful. She just was the best role model I could have in coming out as a lesbian. And yeah, I loved her dearly, she was amazing for me. And I think the proof of the pudding is in the family she has left behind, who've been just the most amazing family for her, and her love to them has come through in their love of her. So thank you for looking after her so amazingly well.
I would like to second that to the family. You've been amazing. Had lots of family. Even the young ones who are now not young anymore. Thank you for all the love and the time you took. You've been amazing.
I'm Yoka and I'm Dutch as well, and when I met Yoka 42 years ago or something, as a lesbian, and I was already out as a lesbian, I thought it was amazing as well. We spent quite a bit of, when I was with my other partner, a few times we visited Yoka, and I think it was when she was living in the flat in Mornington, and she was busy baking, and she made this Hillary square. And I said, oh, this is beautiful, can I have a recipe? And she said, yeah, sure, here. And so I copied it all out, and at the bottom it says, Yoka puts a double lot of icing on this. Good, I remember that. And the other recipe I am still using, just about continuously, is muesli. Toasted muesli, so I have that all the time still.
Kia ora everyone, I'm Pleasance Hanson. I'm actually a North Islander, even though I've lived down here for 15 years. But I met Yoka 40 years ago. I'd set up the Women's Place bookshop. We were following the lead of Dunedin with Daybreak. I've actually got an artefact here. We had a magazine in Wellington called Lesbian Circle. That was the most non-phallic idea we could come up with in terms of what we need to call it. But here is Daybreak, the list of some of the books, Lesbian Nation. Now, we were called to customs to justify why we were bringing Lesbian Nation in. We also had to justify why we brought in a book called The Day the Ferries Went on Strike. They were a bit embarrassed when we explained it was actually a kid's story. But, you know, lots of lesbian novels here. Sister Gin, that was a famous one. Crimes Against Women, Amazon Expedition, etc. But the main thing I want to talk about is the impact Yoka made all over the country. So there are lesbian feminists and feminists, as we've already heard, who are mourning her passing. We speak Morrigan and Tor from Christchurch. And the impact she would make, particularly in Wellington, was through the Lesbian Mothers Defence Fund. And I have something here which talks about that. We are still alive and well in Ōtepoti, Dunedin. This was written many years ago, decades ago, using the Māori language way back then. And she would bowl into the Women's Place bookshop and we'd all go, yay, Dunedin's arrived. So that's part of the impact that Yoka had. And so many of us knew and loved her immensely. So, kia kaha, just an amazing spirit. And how incredible we are having this today, and we are singing, we are strong, we are invincible, just as we know we might be back on those streets protesting about abortion. So that feels very timely, and I'm sure Yoka would appreciate that. Thank you.
I just want to record the fact that there was a person called Jill, and she was a fantastic woman alongside Yoka.
So Mum was a great lover of the arts and spent many heavy hours in this gallery, far more hours than the people who were pushing her around really wanted to spend, but never mind. And so to bring a bit of art to these proceedings, and also because we have the current poet laureate in the family, David Eggleton will give a reading.
Yoka was a very big and fervent supporter of culture and arts events in Dunedin, and she was also a big fan of poetry, and so I've chosen 3 poems that I thought she would like listening to. The first one's from The Silences Between, Moiriki Conversations, by Kerry Hume, from 1982. Awe te aroha me te mamai. I asked for riches, and you gave me scavenging rights on a far beach. In the tide line, the broken body of a gull, empty crab shells, the long wrecked tentacles of kelp. The waves are subdued. A small piece of clay breaks off the cliff and falls into the sea. It is a warm, quiet day for walking or sleeping in the sun. The next poem is from The Turning Wheel by Ruth Dallas. The collection was published in 1961. This poem is called Spring Day near Arrowtown. Sun from the snowfields along the valley follows swiftly behind blown cloud, lighting up the willows and the pale-leafed poplars, the damp grey road. Moon-coloured daffodils scattered on the grass, a cherry tree leaning alone where once there stood a house, a tumble-down chimney, an old hearthstone. But whether those who lived here were foolish or discreet, lived sadly or merrily, the daffodils forget, dancing, dancing under the cherry tree. And my final Otago poem is also set in Central Otago. It's called Distant Ophir. It's by myself. I went looking for the nightingale, for the rose, and found corrugated iron, scent of wild thyme, cry of a hawk. I felt a breeze lift in the orchard to waken the leaves from slumber and entangle memories in apricot heat. Monday was wash day, Tuesday ironing, Wednesday cleaning, Thursday baking, Friday shopping, Saturday sports games, Sunday meant church, promise of roast dinner. Air stood dry and warm under pine trees, crickets leapt over sunflower radiance, summer's elixirs glistened in green jelly, jam was given in peach and cherry, quicksilver sank in the foxed mirror, the breeze, a stir of quiet fingers, plucked at flowery puffs of petals, fluffed sponge cake, buttered big scones, furniture stacked, empty windows blank, fine bones showing, faded curtains folded, the farmhouse went for a knockdown price. If I peer hard now through the late afternoon, I can almost see as far as distant Ophir and cargo from Otago raising the dust. Thank you.
Mum was a very enthusiastic supporter of David. Right, now because it's Matariki and we look to the people who have gone already and we think about the present, we also think about the future. So now it's time for the grandchildren to come up.
Hello everyone, my name is Mira and it is my honour to represent Omar's grandchildren tonight. I think all of us can agree that our Omar has taught us some of the most important lessons of our lives. She has taught us how to be strong, independent women and men who are not afraid to stand up for what we believe in. She has instilled within us the importance of family and the ability not to take life too seriously. She has also given us a love for walks in the gardens and enjoying fresh air. Whether we were being pushed by her in a pram, walking alongside her, holding her hand, or pushing her in her wheelchair in her old age. She taught us to be generous with our time and never forget to give back to the community that raised us. She demonstrated to us what honest and real love can look like. Not many people in our generation can say that they were lucky enough to have 3 grandmothers. Omar taught us to pursue our dreams by any means. Her most recent dream was to have a great-grandchild. She applied pressure, extremely unsubtle hints, and although she won't meet this great-grandchild, we can be sure that her values will be passed down through the next generations and live on in the family that she adored. So this concludes our celebration of Omar's life. Thank you all so much for coming. We would like to thank Tanta Fika, Mama and Papa for for the time and energy they've put into making tonight happen. We would also like to thank Omar for supplying the venue hire and the supper that we will all enjoy tonight. This really is a lasting gift to us all. So we are going to need to move some of the chairs back, so if we can have a little bit of help with that, that would be great. So that concludes our evening, so thank you very much. Mana wai tia Matariki.